All right, so here we have decimal multiplication. So this part of the module is working with those decimals, doing all the operations. So again, you're gonna see a multiplication problem, and it's not gonna be written in decimal form. It's gonna be written as a mixed number. So you're gonna take the fraction part of the number and convert it to a decimal value, which we worked with adding and subtracting. Here you go. Oops, let me bring that down just a little bit for you. So we have 11 5/10 times 13 5/10. A couple of ways we can do this. I mean, we could go ahead and multiply them like mixed numbers and then convert them to decimals, or convert them to decimals and multiply using the standard algorithm. So let me show you. Okay, so first, why is this happening? So first you're going to convert your mixed numbers to fractions greater than 1. And basically what that means is you're putting the whole number back into the numerator. And it's an easy way to do that. Hopefully you guys learned this working through your elementary years, that to convert a mixed number into a fraction that's greater than 1, we call them bobblehead fractions. You take your denominator, multiply it by your whole number, and add your numerator. So it would be 10 times 11, which is 110, plus 5 is 115. Same thing here, you take your denominator, multiply it by the whole number. So 10 times 13 is 130, and then add your numerator, 135. I'm really hoping you learned that in elementary school because it makes it super fast. Then once you do that, you go ahead and do your multiplication, okay? So I have 115 tenths times 135 tenths. When you multiply 115 times 135, you get 15,525, okay? And then when you multiply 10 times 10, you get 100. Now, how do I take this ginormous numerator, convert it to a decimal? Well, like I said in the sums and differences of decimals video, your denominator is 100th. So you just need to make sure that the last digit of your numerator is in the hundredths place. Simple as that. So you go ahead and write 15525 and plop your decimal right there. You make sure that the last digit is in the hundredths place. So it's very important that you know your decimal place values. That you know the first one is the tenths, second one is the hundredths, third one would be the thousandths. And I kind of wrote that note there. So because the denominator is 100, the last digit should be in the hundredths place, okay? All right, now here's the other way. We can convert our fraction to a decimal and then go ahead and do our multiplication. So I know that 5/10 can be written as 0.5, and I know, so that 0.5, so both of these fractions here are 5/10. So both of these would have a 0.5 after the 11 and the 13. So what I have is I have 11.5 times 13.5. And you go ahead and multiply them like they're two whole numbers. So here I've done all that work. Down here, done all that multiplication. And I came to the same answer as that numerator up there. And then you count how many decimal place values you have in both your factors. I have 1 in this factor, and I have 1 in this factor, which makes 2. So you just make sure that your answer has 2 place values. And that's the note that I wrote there. Pull this up so you can see it. So I have said that. Count the decimal places in both factors. You have 1 here, 1 here, 1 and 1 is 2. So your answer should have 2 decimal values. Okay. All right, what else do I have here for you? I got some practice problems. Actually, these are not practice problems. These are common fraction to decimal values. So these are some knowns that if you know the unit decimal value, you can just double it, triple it, multiply it by 4 to figure out the other values. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the first one I have here, or the first 3, is that a half can be written as a decimal of 0.5. So if you had 2 over 2, it would equal 1 whole. For a third, we've seen that a third gets you a repeating decimal. So we know that 1 over 3 is 0.333, and we kind of stop after the thousands place. So that means that 2/3 would be 0.6666, and so on, okay? 1/4 can be written as 0.25. That means 2/4 would be double that, which is 0.5. And 3/4 would be 3 of those, which is 0.75, okay? So if you know the unit, the decimal value of the unit fraction, here is 1/5, 1/6, and 1/8. So 1/5 is 0.2. So that means 2/5 is 0.4, and 3/5 is 0.6, and so on. 1/6 is another repeating decimal. So 0.16666. So the 6th part of the decimal is repeating. So that's good to know. So that means for 2/6 you would double it, for 3/6 you would triple it. And 1/8 is 0.125. So 2/8 is 0.250, and so on and so forth, which makes sense because 2/8 is the same as 1/4, which is 0.25. And then the last 2 I have is 1/9, which is also a repeating decimal. So it's 0.111111. So we just go to the thousandths and we put a line. I've been putting the line over the part of the decimal that's repeating because that lets people know that it's a repeating decimal. And a 1/10 is 0.1. So 2/10 would be 0.2, so on and so forth. So if you could memorize these decimal common fraction to decimal values, it could really help you with your 6th grade math and moving forward through math in middle school of easily converting mixed numbers to numbers that have a decimal value instead of fraction, and then do your addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division that way. Or a lot of times, guys, if you see things that are fraction values and you want to plug it into your calculator, like your calculator doesn't have fractions. So you kind of need to know those decimal values because, again, we live in a world where we have a lot of decimal values. It's very rare that we have perfect whole numbers. So these are good to knows to help us in life. So copy those down and see what you can do about memorizing those moving forward.